Texas Tiger Digs. This is part 2 of the video I started earlier. Well, it's not really part 2. It's the second part of the systems I own and what I think about them. My first one was on the Target ID VDI machines, whatever you want to use for your terminology. This is on the so-called beep and dig machines. Now, I've always considered beep and dig sort of a derogatory term, and I think that's a mistake on my part. It is not a derogatory term. Now, I'm not saying that these machines aren't as described. You drag it across something, it beeps, and then you dig it. But there's a much deeper complexity to that decision than the simple it beeps, you dig. So these are the machines. Now, I love these machines. I showed you the VDI or the TID machines. I've gotten great results from those. I've gotten rings. I've also gotten rings from the Tesoro Outlaw. I've gotten rings from the Tesoro Compadre. And strangely enough, I've gotten no rings from the Tejon, but I don't think that's the Tejon's fault. The Tejon, for much of the last couple of 3 months, had some issues. I finally shipped it back to Tesoro, and they did their usual great job. They fixed my ground balancing issues, and now the Tejon is in my rotation as a distinguished member. And the Cortez. Now, you would be right in saying two things. I have two devices in here that don't quite fit the beep and dig terminology. The Cortez is here because it's a hybrid. It is definitely a VDI or a TID machine. You get numbers. You get a very, very general description of what it could be. I mean, very general. Darn near useless description of what it could be. But you do get numbers. And those numbers, and you can equate those numbers to fines, and you can get some idea of what you're digging, as much as you can with any other system. And I have the Sovereign GT over here. Now, the Sovereign GT is definitely a beep and dig machine. But I do have the Mind Lab meter on this one. I also have something called Ron's meter. It was created an aftermarket creation. I can't recall the gentleman's name, but if you Google Ron's meter, you will see the 180 meter, which basically serves almost the precise same function as this. So I have both of those meters. So this is now not technically a beep and dig machine, but since it is in its inception a beep and dig machine, it belongs in this group. The Cortez is only in this group because I choose to accept the definition of it being a Tesoro, and Tesoro's a beep and dig. Now, that's not actually always the case. There is the Cortez is not a technically a beep and dig machine. And the De Leon, which is almost exactly like the Cortez, except it does not have a manual ground balance, and there's some other things there, but it also has a VDI machine. But strangely enough, the Cortez is the most expensive in the Tesoro line, but it's not the most respected. The Tejon is the most respected. Maybe the Compadre. The Outlaw is just sort of a poor relations, but God is beginning, in my opinion, to make its presence felt. In any case, here I go. I'm going to divide these in two. I'm going to look at the Tesoros, because the Tesoros are very similar in function and very similar to some degree in their controls. There are additional controls over here. There's a retune button on the Outlaw, but the other one, the threshold, the sensitivity, the ground balance, and the discrimination, and the toggle over here is shared by more than one machine. That toggle here that goes from all metal to auto is also over here on the Cortez. So it's not across the board, but that's the same. Usually the discrimination is very similar across the board here. That's the extremely loud first sound that a Compadre makes when it comes on. Now, I got in trouble with this with someone when I said that I do believe that a person who masters the Tejon is on an equal footing to a man who has mastered the Expedeus, the CTX 3030, or the E-Track. That was not well received. It's a different machine. It's a machine of feel, and it's a machine of experience. The Tejon is really, how would you do it? The CTX 3030 and the Deus are great instruments, but they're pianos. You strike the keys, you get a sound, and that is the sound you get. And now I'm not diminishing that, because a great pianist is a great musician any more than a violinist. But in my opinion, the Tesoro is a violin. It's the subtleties, the little difference in sounds. It's a single tone machine, but the amount of difference you can get within that single tone is amazing. You can discriminate coins. You can, to some degree, by the way that tone flows, you can determine to some degree whether it's rusty metal with some degree of certainty. The compadre is the very simplest of the Tesoros. You only have a discrimination. The ground balance is hardwired, so you're not going to use this in mineralized soil. So in areas like the mid east coast, or over on the east, in some of the coal producing areas, etc., you're not going to use this, because it's going to the mineralization is going to drive it crazy. The rest of these can be tuned. The ground balance can be adjusted, and to some degree you can function. These all function, with the exception of the compadre, in mineralized soil. So here we go. Now the Tesoros. Now if you put a gun, now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the tip machine. You put a gun to my head and said, find this, or find something, and I can give it some designation. And and like I said, with these, you're not going to have numbers. You're going to determine what the thing is by turning discrimination up and down. And when it reaches a point where it breaks, as you bring discrimination up, nickel, if it breaks at nickel, it could be a nickel, could be a square tab. Breaks a pull tab, it could be a pull tab, it could be gold. But it begins to sort of, if it breaks at zinc, and it's more than likely a zinc. Could be a huge gold ring, but you are defining it by actually moving the discrimination dial. Like, most of you don't know that already. And most people don't like to do that. A lot of people don't like to do that, but Tesoro is a very popular manufacturer of detectors, so some people do. And okay, if you had to put a gun on my head and tell me I had to find something, I would probably go with the old faithful Tesoro Tejon. Lately, I would have to think very seriously about the Outlaw. I have gotten some very good results with the Outlaw. I found 2 silver rings recently, 2 more than I have with the Tejon. Not because the Tejon is not as good, it's just because the Tejon has been out of circulation for a while. I've had very good fortune with this, and it is not sparky. It doesn't make sounds. Virtually silent until you get a hit. Now I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember the kilohertz of the Outlaw. 10 maybe. I believe the kilohertz of the Tejon is 14. The Tejon is a highly tunable and highly. It's tuned like a tight string. This is tuned more loosely. The Tejon is a very, very, very quirky machine. It even ground balances, not always smoothly. You can ground balance it. I'm having great luck now that I have it repaired. But it's different. It's hard to explain. This one is solid and simple in its interpretation. That's the Outlaw. You hit something, you get to ping, you turn it down, and with some regularity, it's going to be, at the point it breaks, you're going to know exactly what you're dealing with. So, this is a case. Now, about the Outlaw, for a couple of reasons. Not as much for its utilization as for the fact I knew it was a good machine. It's a Tesoro, so I know they're good. But I got the 3 coils with this. I've got a 5.5-inch coil, and I've got a very small coil. I don't have the 5.5-inch coil with me. I have a 4.5 or 4-inch coil. I have this very, very tiny coil here that I can also use with that, so it could work in a trashy area. Now, the only weakness of the so-called beep and dig machines is the fact they don't work good in trash, only to the degree they'll function, but you're going to have to tune it up and down and sort of cherry pick at certain levels what you get. So if you want to turn it all the way up and go into a trashy area, then you're going to hit the high conductivity targets, and you're going to miss all the junk beneath it. So you're going to still be able to pick things out, but you're going to have to manually sort of step down, okay, or step up. Okay, if you turn the Outlaw discrimination all the way up, you're going to get quarters. Almost without fail, they're going to be quarters. With amazing consistency, they're going to be quarters. If you turn it down a little bit, you're going to get dimes. So if you turn it all the way up, then you go across a trashy area, you're going to hit quarters or something in the conductivity of a target range, of a quarter range. It could be a silver ring. It could be, of course, more than just those 2 valuable or those 2 wanted objects. It could be many more things, but with amazing regularity. If this thing hits and it's coin size, you can determine either by swinging the coil or by checking with your pinpointer, and you've got your discrimination turned up. It's going to most often be a quarter. All right, so, and the compadre, I get a lot of crap from compadre users. I don't use it as often enough, and they do have a point. Now, the compadre is a UMAX. There are 2 flavors of Tesoros. There's the UMAXs, which all of these machines fall under UMAX. The Cortez, the Outlaw, and the compadre. Now, the compadre is usually not even thought of as a UMAX because it usually comes with a hardwired coil. This one is hardwired. I have one that has coils I can change. I made an alteration that, of course, killed the warranty, so you take that into consideration. And then there's the Tejon type. There is the Tejon falls in the category with the Cibola and with the Vaquero. Those are, and this is the Cortez, the Outlaw, the Compadre, and the De Leon all fall in the UMAX category. And I always thought about UMAX as the weaker of the 2 because of my love of the Tejon, but the Outlaw has sort of made me rethink that position. So, if you're considering getting a detector, understand that this is a different kind of detector, and I know people who will do nothing else but these, and there are some times when I will leave the XP Deus on the charger, and I'll walk out of here with my Tejon, or with my Outlaw, or with the Cortez. I went out with the Cortez with the clean sweep coil. By the way, this is the clean sweep coil. It's a Tesoro coil, and it covers a lot of territory, but it is shallow. You're going to get about 4 inches down, so that's pretty good if you're going to do a little surface sweep. You want to get the crap off the top, and then come in with the big boys and go deeper. You can use that. But you can also find the rings with that pretty easily because you're covering a lot of territory, so you're going to hit a lot of targets. If it's extremely trashy, forget it. Don't use that. Change coils. Don't even worry about it. So here I go. I'm going to make my little estimation. I have a lot of difficulty making the difference between the Outlaw and the Tejon. Now, the Tejon is the superior depth. It has the double discrimination, so it doesn't cost for as much tinkering. So I'm giving it an inch or 2 advantage over the Outlaw. But I love them both, and I'm using them both with about the same size coil, which is the which I believe is the largest coil, the largest standard coil offered by Tesoro. You know, you can get some different different vendors and different things. Of course, another thing about that coil is it will allow it to fall. So we'll worry about that later. In any case, so you know, you make your decision, you take your choice. You know, there's some people who will not use anything but these, and then there are other people who prefer the TDI or the TID or VDI machines. I don't think you lose much by using these machines. You do lose some of your ability in trashy areas because you're going to have to do more tinkering with the discrimination. So it's going to be a longer process to search a trashy area. But you know, with the TDI or VDI, TID or VDI machines, you know, you just go over there and you're going to get a certain ping, a certain sound, and you're going to get it. Now, all of these I've got here are single tones. You know, you can use VCO on these two. You can use VCO, and VCO does give you some measure of depth, etc. So it does give some tone variation, but they're basically single tone machines. The only multiple tone machines that I can think of offhand, correct me if I'm wrong, and somebody certainly will, the Golden UMax, which I don't know if it's in production anymore. It's almost impossible to find. If I could find a Golden UMax, and I will someday, with the new tones, now the old tones will be more directly show the conductivity level, but the new tones is what I would like to get for my own reasons. But if I could get a new tone Golden UMax, I'd be very tempted to buy that. Okay, so let's get right at this. So we've got rid of these. So let me go and we'll take a look at the last two machines in my little menagerie of beep and dig. Now, the other two machines I've got here are the Sovereign GT, which is a machine of known quality and quantity. It is a mind lab, and it has some of the mind lab technology. You know, how it sends multiple streams of kilohertz into the ground and determines, you know, whatever your depth, etc. Like I said, I have the Sovereign meter on here, which translates the variable tones that are generated by this device, which would normally make it a beep and dig. You still get the tones, but it gives a numerical value, so you know within some range of what you might be digging. Now, that's very good. It tends to be pretty deep. I do like this. It's really well known as a beach machine. If you've seen the Excalibur, what you have is a Sovereign for the sea, basically. So there's not a lot of variation there. For instance, I have a waterproof box for this. I would not have any problem with using that either on a lake beach or a saltwater beach, assuming I have a waterproof box to keep the controller dry, because that is the weakness here. Now the other one is the Nokta Velox. This was the first general purpose Nokta. Nokta has some other machines, some gold machines. Back when this first came out, Nokta now has a Forest Gold and Forest Core. Nokta Forest, F-O-R-S Gold, and Forest Core, which is now, surprise, surprise, a VDI TID machine. So this is the odd man in the group, because the Sovereign GT, even though it is a beep and dig, you can notch out or discriminate pull tabs. You can't with this one. You know, it has three tones. It has an iron tone. It has a mid-range conductor tone. It has a high tone. So that's about the only discrimination you get there. You can, with the flip of a switch, you know, eliminate the iron tone. So it'll still be a three-tone machine with the iron tone blocked off. But it's still a great machine. Now, I have used this in my parks to great results, but you got to take consideration that these parks that I'm talking about are not trashy, or the areas I'm using this in are not trashy. And I actually have three coils for this. I have a small coil, and then I think another coil, which is maybe 8 inches. The small coil is maybe 6. The biggest coil I've got on any machine. I haven't used this yet. In fact, I may use it tomorrow. We'll see. Because there's no subtlety at all when you go out there packing machine that's got a coil bigger than an industrial size skillet. In any case, yeah, these are good machines as well. Now the Sovereign GT, you know, I think it might even be out of production now, which I regret sincerely. In fact, I'm going to need to buy another coil for it. Nothing wrong with that coil. I just want a larger or different dimension coil. So, and this is not a standard shaft. This is an Anderson shaft, and I have jury rigged this to hold my Sovereign because I have the old crooked shaft, and I didn't like it. So now I have a straight shaft for my Sovereign. I've got another, so I'm probably going to have to do some drilling in order to make that permanent, but it works fine right now. And I also have the pouch, so I can stick this on my belt or around my neck and get rid of some of the weight, because that is a heavy machine. This is also a heavy machine, but it's very finely balanced, and I haven't had much issues with it. The Sovereign GT is not as well balanced, and especially since I have it on a shaft that's not built. That was built for it, but was not balanced in a factory. So it's a little bit clumsy. In any case, you know, these two, this is a relic hunter. Really, yeah, you can use it in parts. I have used it. It works fine, but because it doesn't give you the option of filtering or discriminating out pull tabs, then that reduces its utility. This does give you those options, so this is just another beep and dig machine. I have a meter on it, so I have made a VDI machine. I'm using the 180 meter, but I can pop that off and then still use it. So that's all I've got here. So that's the little thing I've got on my quote-unquote beep and dig machines. So this ends the duel. You've seen my TID, you've seen my beep and dig machines, and you've seen my opinions of the batch. So, you know, use it as you might. You know, some of you might be thinking about buying machines. You might think you want to go TID. You might think you want to go beep and dig. You know, it's your choice, and 99.9% of it is the Detectors and not the equipment. If the equipment is marginally within parameters of being equal, it doesn't really matter if it's got screens and charts, etc. It doesn't really matter if it's got dials or buttons. You will be able to find the majority of the things that you swing your coil over. In any case, this is Texas Tiger Digs, and that's all I've got for this, and I hope this is interesting to people. Like I said, I've rambled before, I'll ramble again. You have a wonderful day, and I will see you at the next hunt, at the next dig.